The end of April story event was Our Style and Our Substance, a somewhat low-stakes event featuring a myriad of characters, but having its main returning protagonists being Kolulu and Manamel. After what happened in Unbound Asterism only 8 months ago, seeing an almost joke event highlighting 2 Accordants feel a bit out of place, and while the event itself was pretty good, it does make one wonder what exactly was the goal behind it. Once I finished reading it, I immediately posted this. Hi, I'm Ducky, and today I wanted to talk about how these 2 seemingly unrelated events are actually doing the exact same thing. Let's roll the intro and get started, because there's a lot to talk about. For starters, let's introduce Platinum Sky, the December 2016 story event occupying the famous slot of the Society event. If you somehow don't know, the Society is the name given to the secret group from which Zeta, Beatrix, Eustace, Vazeraga, Ilsa and Gwyn are all a part of. Starting in 2014, their story became one of the staples of Granblue events, culminating in the 2021 anniversary event, Home Sweet Moon. The Society plotline always had a very serious nature, even with its funny tidbits and moments. But then, they had Platinum Sky, a somewhat low-stakes event featuring a myriad of characters, but having its main returning protagonists being Zeta and Beatrix. You can probably see where I'm going with this already, right? When your characters are always thrown into dangerous, life-threatening situations, it can be hard to remember that they are also normal people. If the stakes are always too high, that becomes the norm, and you end up doubling down on the power creep. If everything is always dangerous and full of conflict, you and your characters will forget what is the peace they are fighting for. At the same time, narrative tension is something that needs to ramp up throughout the course of a story, until it reaches its climax. And there is a point of no return, where you must keep going until the end. Because of that, you must use the appropriate time to decrease the stakes and bring back some mundane issues into your world and characters. This is the first point of comparison between the 2 events, where they are located in their respective timelines. Platinum Sky is the 3rd big society-related event, after Footprints on Sacred Ground and Gripping Freedom. Our Style is also the 3rd big Accordant-related event, after Marionette Stars and Unbound Asterism. And the reason for this is simple. This is the perfect time for that downtime activity, to get the public to know more about your characters and your world, before ramping up the tension once again. In Platinum Sky, we get to know more about Beatrix, a relatively new character at the time, introduced in Gripping Freedom, and actually connect with her. It's the same that happens with Manamel in Our Style. While Kolulu is an older character with plenty of screen time already, Manamel desperately needed something to show the readers who she is and what she is like. And with such a strong connection to the main plot of the Accordants, developing her is essential for the story going forward. The other part of this is knowing more about the world. And both events do an extremely good job of expanding the world building in a way you never really thought about before. And it's the kind of thing that makes the magical flying world of Granblue feel more believable. Platinum Sky introduces us to the concept of ship racing. And of course there's ship racing. They have flying ships in this world. Why wouldn't they have races? It creates an entire ecosystem of normal things normal people would be doing if this world were real. They're all enjoying a sport on a Sunday afternoon. In Our Style, we dive deep into the world of fashion. This is a fantasy world with fantasy races. Of course, there's different types of clothing, cosmetics, accessories and designs to accommodate each one of them. The scene where the 4 girls try to wear each other's clothes has more world building than the entirety of Seeds of Redemption. Okay, now that the mandatory dunk on Seeds of Redemption is out of the way. While achieving all of the aforementioned points, both events are far from being what you could call filler content. They are still relevant to the central plot, in just the exact amount to keep it at the back of your head the entire time, but not to overwhelm the chill vibe it's going for. In Platinum Sky, while Zeta and Bea join the races to be a distraction and an on-site team, Eustace and Vazeroga are working behind the scenes, trying to undercover a group that was rigging bets and granting funds to the foe. And in our style, we see Lodi and Nereus doing something. While on the surface it looks like Lodi is simply working to get money for something, this is just an excuse for two reasons. Firstly, Lodi is a very popular idol, and if the goal was simply getting more money, he could have done that in a number of better ways. Second, from the way Nereus talks, it's implied that she's trying to change Lloyd somehow, forcing him into scenarios where his apathy could be replaced by empathy. But, as with everything that involves her, we are not sure. In both cases, we get glimpses of the main plot, a hook to keep the ball rolling during downtime between two major events. Lastly, there's some structural similarities that did not run past me. For example, the fact that both events have a large cast of external characters, and the addition of new ones, both groups from which the game can now start writing new independent stories going forward. In Platinum Sky, we get Meteon, and he got a 5-star uncap on his SR unit, a second event completely unrelated to the society, and a SSR holiday out. In your style, La Morala and Lilico are incredible characters that live completely normal lives. Well, normal if we compare it to the standard of the other characters involved, that is. And they could be used as a link to any Port Breeze location, the same way Mari is to Auguste. We also established friendships between Metera and Utsusemi, and Chloe and Mahira, and I'm sure these relations will carry forward. We also got a huge number of new portraits and assets. All the racing suits and ships in Platinum Sky ended up turning into 3 skins, so I would not be surprised to see Summer dress Metera or Overalls Mahira sometime in the future. Talking about overalls, let's wrap this up. Overall, I'm not saying that these two events are the same. They are not. There's 8 years of difference between these two, and the quality improvement we had can easily be seen. What I'm saying is that these two events, despite being separated by so much, serve the same narrative purpose. Our style and our substance feels like what Platinum Sky would have been, if updated to modern writing standards. And, if anything, I think that's a good comparison to have. We all know how incredible the society plotline ended up being. So, if Cygames is taking notes on that to reapply it to the Accordants, it probably means we have a lot to look forward to. I think that's all I have for this video. Thank you all for watching. I just wanted to talk about this event because the similarities were too on the nose for me to not point them out. I'm not sure if I would comment on every story event, but this is a type of video that can be cool every now and then. So anyways, this was Ducky and I'll see you all later.